Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to our public meeting regarding the identification of a potential administrator for East Orosi Community Services District. The State Water Board values and appreciates your attention and patience during this time when the State Water Board continues its work through remote communications. My name is Vanessa Soto, and I'm part of the State Water Board's Office of Public Participation. I'll be the moderator for today's public meeting. As part of our efforts to ensure we meet the language needs of this community, we are offering this meeting in English with Spanish language interpretation. If you are joining tonight's meeting through Zoom and would like to listen to the discussion in Spanish and ask questions during the question and comment period at the end of this presentation, please go to the interpretation icon at the bottom of the Zoom control panel. You will then see language controls where you can select Spanish. If you are calling in and do not have access to Zoom and would like to participate in Spanish, please call the Spanish conference line at 916-255-4069, and no code is needed for that Spanish conference line. I would now like to invite Viviana, one of our Spanish language moderators this evening, to repeat this information in Spanish. Viviana?
Thank you, Vanessa. Gracias, Vanessa, y muy buenas noches a todos, y gracias por acompañarnos esta noche. Mi nombre es Viviana y soy analista e intérprete traductora de la Junta del Agua. Mi función como moderadora en español esta noche es asegurar que sus voces se oigan. La reunión de esta noche se está realizando en inglés con servicio de interpretación en español. Si desea ver y escuchar la presentación y participar de la sesión de preguntas y respuestas en español por este medio, seleccione el icono de interpretación que aparece en la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom. El icono parece un pequeño globo terráqueo. De ahí seleccione la opción para español. Para ver las diapositivas en español, en la parte superior de la pantalla puede seleccionar la palabra View y del menú que aparece seleccione diapositivas en español. Para solo escuchar la presentación en español por teléfono y participar de la sesión de preguntas y respuestas, también por teléfono y en español, llame al número telefónico 916-255-4069. Reconocemos que no fue fácil tomar la decisión de participar en la reunión de esta noche. Por eso mismo, queremos asegurarles que estamos aquí no solo para informarles sobre la probable designación de un administrador, sino también para escuchar sus comentarios e inquietudes y contestar sus preguntas. Asimismo, para proteger su confidencialidad, les ofrezco mi número de teléfono particular para que puedan enviarme sus preguntas y comentarios por texto durante la reunión. Durante la sesión de preguntas y comentarios, daré a conocer sus comentarios e inquietudes de manera anónima en inglés para que los presentadores puedan responder. Si tienen para apuntar, el número telefónico para enviar sus preguntas e inquietudes por texto y solamente durante el transcurso de esta reunión es el 951-283-9787. Como les dije, este número es mi número particular y solo podrán comunicarse conmigo por texto durante la reunión. Nuevamente, el número es 951-283-9787 para enviar sus preguntas por texto y solamente durante el transcurso de la reunión. Les repetiré el número más adelante durante la presentación. Gracias.
Thank you, Viviana. And thanks all for your patience as we go through all of these instructions and ensure that everyone has an equitable opportunity to participate in today's meeting. I would also like to acknowledge our many partners that have helped bring us here today. In particular, East Orosi Community Services District residents have been integral in both continuing service and working with us to facilitate a solution. Additionally, Tulare County Division of Financial Assistance, Community Water Center, and Self-Help Enterprises have partnered with us so that we can all be here today working towards a sustainable solution for your community. Additional thanks to those I have not mentioned, but also have helped through this process. Thank you as well to those of you that have taken the time to share your interests and concerns. We value your input as we work through this process. There will be opportunities to comment and ask questions both during this meeting and as well as to submit comments after the meeting. And we look forward to working with you and hearing your interests and concerns as we work through this process. Today's meeting is being hosted and facilitated by the State Water Resources Control Board. The State Water Board is one of 6 boards, departments, and offices under the authority of the California Environmental Protection Agency. As the state board, we are working to provide the community of East Orosi the necessary information, tools, and resources to attain safe, reliable, and affordable drinking water for the benefit of all East Orosi community members. With that, I'd like to share the Water Board's mission statement. The State Water Board's mission is to preserve, enhance, and restore the quality of California's water resources and drinking water for the protection of the environment, public health, and all beneficial use, and to ensure proper water resource allocation and efficient use for the benefit of present and future generations. With that in mind, I'd also like to say that our work here today supports Indigenous and community voices as we work together to provide clean, safe, affordable water to all Californians. Thank you. So now we'll move on to some meeting logistics and an overview of what we'll be discussing today. Again, we appreciate your patience as there's a lot to share so that we can ensure equitable participation from all of our channels today. This meeting is being held virtually through Zoom, and this State Water Board presentation is being recorded. We will end the recording before moving on to the public comment period because we welcome and encourage your open and honest comments. Remember, this meeting is an opportunity for you, the community, to provide feedback and ask questions on this process. To ensure everyone is comfortable sharing their comments and questions, I'd like to mention that comments shared today can be shared anonymously. There are various ways to provide your public comment today, and we'll discuss that over the course of the next couple of slides. Again, this meeting is being held in English and Spanish. If you are using Zoom and would like to listen and participate in Spanish, please select your language by clicking the interpretation button. It looks like a globe. You will also choose mute original audio so that you only hear Spanish interpretation. To view the Spanish PowerPoint being shared today, go to View at the top of your screen and click the arrow. A drop-down menu will appear and you will choose Diapositivas en Español. You can also call 916-255-4069 for the Spanish conference line if you are joining us by phone or if you get disconnected from Zoom. No code is needed to join the Spanish conference line. Again, I'd like to invite Viviana to share some of those instructions and the Spanish conference line in Spanish. Oh, sorry, Viviana, you are on mute.
Buenas noches. Nuevamente les repito lo que dijo mi compañera Vanessa, que esta reunión se está celebrando en inglés y español. Si está utilizando el canal Zoom y gusta escuchar o participar en español, por favor seleccione el idioma al seleccionar el botón de interpretación. Queda en la parte inferior de la pantalla y se parece a un globo terráqueo. También deberá elegir la opción para silenciar el audio original para solamente escuchar la interpretación en español. Para ver las diapositivas en español que estamos compartiendo el día de hoy, vaya al menú que aparece en la parte superior de la pantalla y haga clic en la flecha. Ahí aparecerá el menú donde seleccionará diapositivas en español. También puede llamar a la línea conferencia telefónica en español y el número es el 916-255-4069. No se necesita código. Nuevamente, el número de conferencia telefónico en español es el 916-255-4069 sin códigos. Y si desean enviar sus preguntas por mensaje de texto solamente durante el transcurso de esta reunión, podrán hacerlo al 951-283-9787. Ese número estará habilitado solamente durante el transcurso de esta reunión y para recibir mensajes vía texto con respecto a preguntas y comentarios que puedan tener. Gracias.
Thank you, Viviana. And for those of us joining in English, when you join Zoom, you should automatically be seeing the English PowerPoint. But if for some reason you are not, you can also hover at the top of your screen, go to view options, and the drop-down menu will indicate English PowerPoint, at which point you'll be able to choose the English PowerPoint. For those on the conference line as well, you're on the main Zoom channel, which will be in English. To join the Spanish conference line, please go to 916-255-4069. So to ensure the meeting is being interpreted completely, there may be short pauses between the transitions of slides today. If our presentation is too big for your screen, please set your view to fit screen. Typically, a taskbar is found at the bottom of your Zoom window, but it can also be found at the top of your screen. To improve streaming quality, most of our presenters today will not be sharing their video. If you are having technical issues, please email ddw.administrator@waterboards.ca.gov. Or if you are on Zoom, you can raise your hand and type it into the chat function found at the bottom of your screen. Comments and questions from the public will be taken at the end of this presentation. There are multiple ways to share comments and/or questions. When you are sharing comments, please let us know whether you are a community member or someone representing Tulare County or a local community organization. If you are comfortable, share your name and the organization you represent, but you are not required at any time to share your name. Again, the recording will be stopped at the beginning of the comment period. For those joining us on Zoom platform, you can share comments or questions by raising your hand or typing into the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. For folks joining us on the English conference line, you can raise your hand to let us know you have a question or comment by entering *9 on your keypad. The last 3 digits of your phone number will be called when it is your turn. For those on the Spanish phone line, during the public comment period, please let your moderator, Viviana, know if you would like to provide a comment. Finally, you can also email a public comment or question to ddw-administrator@waterboards.ca.gov. In your email, please include the subject line, East Orosi public comment. Please share whether you are an East Orosi resident or represent a local agency or community organization. If you are comfortable, please provide your first and last name. However, your name is not required. And if you would like to remain anonymous, please let us know in your email. If you are calling in and you send in an email requesting to speak, the last 3 digits of your phone number should be included in that email. Okay, we'll move on to participation instructions for those of us joining on the phone. So again, we have 2 phone lines today, an English and a Spanish line. To access the Spanish language conference line, please call 916-255-4069. You will be placed directly into the call. Please remember to mute your phone so that we limit background noise and make sure everyone on the call is able to hear what is being shared on today's presentation. You will be provided with the opportunity to provide comments during the public comment period. Your comments will be relayed in English to the larger audience through one of our interpreters. If you are having technical issues or have a question, please let your moderator know. To participate by phone in English, you can call 669-900-9128. You will be prompted to enter a meeting ID, at which time you'll enter 990-2912-5591. You will then be placed in the call. If you are having technical issues, please raise your hand by entering *9 or use the chat function. During our public comment, you can press *6 to unmute yourself. If at any time you're disconnected and would like technical assistance or to share a comment or question, you can email ddw-administrator@waterboards.ca.gov. So once more, if you're on the Spanish conference line, please remember that you don't have the raise hand feature, and you will be able to mute your phone using the keypad on your phone. If at any time you have questions or comments, you can text Viviana, your moderator, at 951-283-9787 and share your comment or question. You can also let Viviana know at the end of the presentation that you have a comment or question. She will be able to share your comments on the main Zoom channel. So I know we just shared a lot of information, and please know that all the different participation channels we have here today are for the state water boards to ensure that community voices are heard and everyone has a chance for equitable participation. So thank you again for your patience, and thanks again for being here today. So now on to our meeting guidelines. In the event that you are disconnected from the meeting, please rejoin us using the Zoom link or the call-in number. Everyone will have their microphones muted and cameras turned off until the public comment section begins after the presentation. To speak during our public comment period, you'll want to raise your virtual hand. This will help us locate you in the attendee list. If you are called upon, you will be asked to unmute yourself to speak. I understand we have some folks today who are joining us via phone. And as a reminder, if you are calling into today's event and would like to raise your hand, please press *9 on your telephone keypad. Again, that's *9 to raise your hand for all of those calling in. If you are called upon, you'll press *6 to unmute yourself. If you are on the Spanish conference line, please let your moderator, Viviana, know if you have a comment or question you would like to share. Okay, with all that being said, let's practice raising our virtual hands. So if I can have everyone on the call, please raise your virtual hands. Remember, there's a raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. And if you're calling in, you can press *9. Awesome. Seeing all of those hands getting raised. Okay, great. Thanks so much. You're all Zoom pros now. And so you'll want to remember to do that during our public comment period after the presentation. All right, so here's our meeting agenda for tonight. We'll start off with some background information on the East Orosi Community Services District, followed by an overview of the administrator process. We'll then introduce the potential administrator for East Orosi and share some information on their qualifications and scope of work. Then we'll go over community involvement and how your involvement is critical to this process and its next steps. Finally, we will take public comments and questions. And as a reminder, the State Water Board staff are here to listen to your comments and your questions. This is your opportunity to provide feedback on any part of this process. Your input is important because it will help the administrator make decisions based on what is most beneficial to your community. With that, I'd like to move on to the presentation, starting with the background of the East Orosi Community Services District. I'll pass the mic on to our first presenter, Brian Potter. Brian, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everybody. Can you all hear me?
We can hear you.
Perfect, thank you. I just wanted to make sure before I began. My name is Brian Potter. I'm the Tulare District Engineer for the Division of Drinking Water. I will be giving you background information on the East Orosi water system. My responsibility with the Division of Drinking Water is regulating public water systems, and I'm responsible for regulating the East Orosi Community Services District. Part of this presentation is to give you all some information and understanding as to why an administrator is needed for East Orosi Community Services District. So with that, the East Orosi Community Services District is a small water system in Tulare County that serves a population of approximately 932 people with 103 service connections. A service connection is, in this case, considered a home, which is a majority of all the connections in East Orosi. The water system utilizes 2 groundwater wells and has no storage. Both of those wells are nearing the end of their useful life. East Orosi was issued a compliance order for the violation of the nitrate maximum contaminant level in well 2 in 2015. The community, currently receives bottled water through Tulare County's bottled water program. The systems, or the water system, faces a number of issues which I want to go over. Those are water quality issues, infrastructure needs, and technical and financial expertise. These are the 3 primary issues that East Orosi CSD is facing, and the state board is planning to address these issues by appointing an administrator. East Orosi CSD has failed to implement a long-term solution to comply with the nitrate maximum contaminant level. East Orosi CSD lacks the technical and financial expertise required to properly operate and maintain the water system so that it is in compliance with the drinking water regulations. And the water system needs infrastructure improvements to make a more sustainable long-term water system. Specific to water quality, East Orosi has exceeded the nitrate maximum contaminant level. They were issued a compliance order for violating the nitrate maximum contaminant level in 2015. The maximum contaminant levels are public health standards that apply to all public water systems in California, and they need to meet these maximum contaminant levels. The current maximum contaminant level for nitrate in California is 10 milligrams per liter. That is represented by the red line on this graph. As you can see from this graph, East Orosi CSD's water sources consistently and historically have exceeded the maximum contaminant level. The public health standard, as I mentioned, is shown again by the red line on the graph. And the results of East Orosi CSD's water results are shown by the dotted lines. So it's probably a little hard to see, but the line that dates back to 2015 is well 2, and that remains consistently above. And then well 1 starts in 2018 as shown on the graph and carries on through today. So as I stated previously, the state board issued a compliance order for exceeding the nitrate maximum contaminant level. And in that compliance order, East Orosi CSD was directed to comply with the nitrate public health standard by December 1, 2018. The main health risks associated with exposure of the high nitrate levels in drinking water are infants below the age of 6 months who drink water containing nitrate in excess of the MCL may quickly become seriously ill, and if untreated, may die because of high nitrate. The high nitrate levels can interfere with the capacity of the infant's blood to carry oxygen. Symptoms include shortness of breath, blueness of the skin, and then high nitrate levels may also affect the oxygen carrying ability of the blood in pregnant women. Typical sources of nitrate contamination are runoff and leaching from fertilizer use, leaching from septic tanks and sewage, and erosion of natural deposits. As it relates to the infrastructure needs, currently East Orosi lacks adequate storage capacity, and this can result in water outages if one of the wells were to fail or have to go offline for routine maintenance or emergencies. The water system's distribution system lacks isolation valves. The lack of isolation valves can result also in water outages when there's a water line break in the system. For example, if one neighbor's home has a water break, that water will be gushing out and there's no way to isolate that from the rest of the system, and that could lead to a water outage. In addition, East Orosi CSD lacks individual water meters and shutoff valves. Again, the shutoff valves can help protect the system should there be a large break on someone's property. In addition to that, the existing groundwater wells were drilled in 1984, and they are nearing the end of their useful life. It is commonly assumed that groundwater wells have a useful life of approximately 50 years. Now on to some of the technical and financial issues related to East Orosi CSD. East Orosi lacks the technical expertise needed to effectively manage and operate their water system. As it pertains to East Orosi's board, East Orosi CSD currently has a board to make decisions on their behalf. However, the board changes frequently, meaning the members of the board change frequently. And for long periods of time, East Orosi CSD has been unable to achieve a quorum, which is the minimum amount of board members required to hold meetings and make decisions. East Orosi struggles to consistently fill all 5 seats of their board. As it pertains to East Orosi's management, the East Orosi CSD lacks managerial capacity to comply with the drinking water regulations. Since 2018, East Orosi has received 10 enforcement actions related to the failure to monitor for water quality, fail to have a certified operator, failure to complete the consumer confidence report. Those are items which those enforcement actions were issued for. East Orosi CSD is past due on many deadlines that were related to those enforcement actions. And those deadlines are in essence, directives from the state board to East Orosi to remedy a problem. The lack of financial capacity to implement the solutions needed to provide long-term, reliable, and safe drinking water supply is something that East Orosi also struggles with. East Orosi does not have the necessary funds available to complete improvement projects to comply with the nitrate maximum contaminant level, and they need financial assistance for that project. In addition, they don't have financial capability to have infrastructure projects like installing meters, isolation valves, or replace the infrastructure as needed. So to summarize, East Orosi has been struggling to provide adequate supply of safe drinking water for several years. The three main challenges, as I outlined, were their ability to comply with the nitrate MCL, the lack of storage capacity and aging infrastructure, and then the lack of technical, managerial, and financial expertise needed to run a public water system. So with that, the state board is recommending the appointment of an administrator that can help East Orosi CSD address these challenges, and in the end, comply with drinking water regulations. Now, to provide an overview of the administrator, I would like to hand the mic over to Caitlin Juarez.
Thanks, Brian. Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. My name is Caitlin Juarez, and I'm in the Southern Engagement Unit of the Division of Drinking Water. I'm going to give an overview of the administrators and go over the process required by the state legislature to appoint an administrator. As mentioned earlier, the Safe and Affordable Drinking Water Fund was established by Senate Bill 200 last year to provide up to $130 million a year that enables the state water board to help small water systems with drinking water violations develop and implement sustainable solutions, including the appointment of an administrator. Senate Bill 552 gives the state water board the authority to appoint an administrator to a designated public water system that has consistently failed to provide an adequate supply of safe and affordable drinking water to its community. The role of the appointed administrator is to provide administrative, technical, operational, legal, and managerial services to a water system. A full scope administrator would be appointed to take complete managerial control over a designated water system. A complete description of the administrator authority and requirements can be found in the Administrator Policy Handbook on the Water Board's website. So what is a full scope administrator? A full scope administrator is a person or entity who is appointed and or authorized to exercise managerial control over a designated water system. The administrator shall have all necessary licenses and certifications for the scope of the appointment. For example, if the scope of the appointment includes the operation of a water system, the administrator must have certified operators or the ability to subcontract certified operators. The administrator shall also have sufficient experience in the task that will be required of them. For example, if the administrator is required to develop a capital improvement plan or a 5-year budget, the administrator must have sufficient experience in doing so. It should also be noted that the administrator will be subject to a background check. The state board views administrators as a flexible tool that can be tailored to the needs of a water system. All actions taken by an administrator are required to be in the best interest of the community served by the water system and must be intended to develop the water system's ability to deliver an adequate supply of affordable, safe drinking water so that the services of the administrator are no longer needed. Before the meeting, we received some questions regarding what the differences were between an administrator and a receiver. A receiver is a court-appointed entity that is funded through the water system's water rates. There is no state funding available to a receiver for additional resources. An administrator is appointed by the State Water Board and is funded through the State Water Board. The administrator has a contract with milestones and required public outreach. The process to appoint an administrator to a water system is initiated with a letter from the State Water Board to the water system. The State Water Board issued a designation letter to East Orosi CSD on September 10th of 2020. Next, a public notice is sent to the affected ratepayers, renters, and property owners at least 30 days prior to a public meeting in order to give the public an opportunity to provide feedback. The notice regarding this public meeting was distributed on March 5th of 2021, and the 30-day public comment period also started on March 5th of 2021. The State Water Board then conducts the public meeting, which is why we are all here today. Following the public meeting, there are an additional 7 days for the public comment period, where all stakeholders can submit their feedback via email, mail, or phone call. The public comment period for the East Orosi CSD will end on April 14th of 2021. Once all the initial steps in the process are complete, the State Water Board can move on to the next step of legally appointing an administrator to the system. As you can see, the process does take a bit of time, and the appointment of an administrator is not immediate. East Orosi CSD will potentially be one of the first water systems in California to be appointed an administrator. Public meetings were also intended to be in person, but because of the pandemic, the remote participation adds on another level of complexity. Once an administrator is appointed, ratepayers, renters, and property owners who receive water from East Orosi CSD may challenge the selection of the administrator and the administrator's decisions. A petition seeking substitution of an administrator may be submitted at any time to the State Water Board. A petition seeking modification or revision of a decision made by the administrator must be received by the State Water Board within 30 days of the administrator's decision. Now I would like to hand the mic over to Karen Nishimoto. Karen?
Thank you, Caitlin. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. So thank you. My name is Karen Nishimoto, and I am the senior for the Southern Engagement Unit with the Division of Drinking Water. I'm going to speak about the potential administrator for East Orosi CSD, their qualifications, the proposed scope of work, and any conflicts of interest. The Tulare County Resource Management Agency has been identified as a potential administrator for East Orosi CSD. Tulare County Resource Management Agency has extensive experience working throughout Tulare County with both drinking water and wastewater systems. Tulare County has a group specializing in water and wastewater management, which currently operates 2 community water systems, 1 non-transient non-community water system, and 9 wastewater systems. These systems are maintained by a licensed contractor under the supervision of Tulare County staff. Their operations staff has decades of experience in both managing and operating water systems. Additionally, Tulare County became the court-appointed receiver for the Savelle water system in 2009 after the aging system had fallen into disrepair and was failing to consistently deliver potable water to their community. In 2020, Tulare County finished a project to replace the failing distribution system in the community under a grant from the State Water Board. As part of this project, Tulare County, along with community support, created the Yedem-Saville Community Services District. This was a new special district to operate 2 small community water systems in Tulare County. The county transferred operations of the 2 community water systems to the new special district in September of 2020. In this case, Tulare County served as a receiver, not as an administrator as is being proposed for East Orosi CSD. Unlike an administrator, the receiver position is court-appointed and did not come with funding for staffing. The State Water Board's new administrator program pays for the administrator and therefore allows for more staff resources for public outreach and coordination. Tulare County's experience planning solutions for water quality problems is applicable to East Orosi, as Tulare County has experience not only with creating plans for long-term improvements, but also has experience with the state's funding process. Funding for infrastructure improvements is critical, particularly where a community is economically disadvantaged and may struggle with both the technical background and financial resources to implement a solution. Additionally, no conflicts of interest have been identified for Tulare County Resource Management Agency as a potential administrator for East Orosi CSD. The State Water Board intends to appoint a full scope administrator for East Orosi CSD. This means that the administrator would be responsible for the full administrative and managerial control of the water system. So, what are some of the tasks that an administrator would be required to do? The full scope administrator would be required to complete numerous tasks. Some of these may be unknown until the administrator has a full understanding of the water system. However, some tasks that the administrator will need to address are known and are shown on the screen. One such task is that the administrator will need to address is the open compliance order for nitrate. The administrator will be tasked with investigating the current situation and working with the Tulare District Office to develop a path towards compliance. In addition, the administrator will facilitate consolidation efforts with the Orosi Public Utilities District, as well as assist in securing funding to implement a long-term solution. We should also note that mandatory consolidation orders were issued to East Orosi CSD and Orosi PUD on October 27, 2020. These orders directed both parties to submit a consolidation plan and ensure consolidation of the 2 systems by December 31st, 2024. The administrator will be instrumental in moving this consolidation project forward. However, the mandatory consolidation and appointing an administrator does not change the things that have to be done during the planning process. This includes plans and specifications, environmental review of documents, right-of-way permits, consolidation agreements, even deciding who will submit the funding application, as well as allowing state time to review the funding application, time for construction, working to sign people up for service, to name a few. So this process will ensure that the infrastructure that is installed meets public standards and will be sustainable. If selected as the administrator, Tulare County Resource Management Agency will be responsible for creating a community accountability and engagement plan within 90 days of appointment. This plan must be submitted to the State Water Board for review and approval. The purpose of this plan is to ensure there are opportunities for meaningful community engagement throughout the duration of the administrator's appointment. This plan will include a description of the actions and activities that the administrator will undertake to engage with the community, and it will also detail how the administrator will incorporate input from the community in providing services to East Orosi CSD. As well as a description of the communication methods the administrator will utilize to engage with the community, this plan will also include a timeline for implementation for the community accountability and engagement plan. This plan will identify routine public meetings, which must occur at least every 3 months, as well as other methods to engage with the community. Any public meeting will be preceded by notice at least 10 days prior to the public meeting and include the opportunity for the public to present comments during the meeting. Some of the items that will be included in these ongoing public meetings may include the performance of the system, an overview of financial health of the water system, any updates on major projects or plans, updates on any proposed changes to water rates, and as well as updates on any other significant matters. Additionally, the public will have access to records including the current operating budget, organizational chart, ownership information, financial reports, contracts for professional services, complaints, and the post-administrator drinking water service plan, which we will talk about next. So an administrator is a short-term alternative, and one of the administrator's top priorities is to identify a pathway to put themselves out of this job. If selected as the administrator, Tulare County Resource Management Agency will need to submit to the State Water Board a draft post-administrator drinking water service plan for State Water Board approval within 12 months of appointment. Tulare County Resource Management Agency will also hold a public meeting before the submittal to get input and share the draft plan with your community. The State Water Board will then be responsible for reviewing and approving the plan. The purpose of the draft post-administrator drinking water service plan is to evaluate the current situation, identify needed resources, and establish a plan to ensure that the community has safe and affordable drinking water for the long term. Any ratepayer, renter, or property owner who receives water from East Orosi CSD once they receive services from an administrator may submit a petition to the State Water Board for the reversal or modification of a decision of an administrator or substitution of the administrator. The petition must be received by the State Water Board within 30 days of the decision in question. Additionally, a petition requesting substitution of an administrator may be submitted to the State Water Board at any time. It should be noted, however, that the filing of a petition does not stay or in any other way void or limit the decision or action of the administrator being challenged in the petition. Any such petition should include contact information, including name and address of the petitioner, and identification of the reason or reasons that the petitioner is seeking substitution of the administrator or reversal or modification of the administrator's decision. Once received, the State Water Board will review the petition. To recap, the purpose of appointing Tulare County as an administrator to East Orosi CSD is to ensure a safe, reliable supply of drinking water is provided to customers for the foreseeable future and ensure that the system can be sustainable. Tulare County will explore funding sources and evaluate other infrastructure improvements while ensuring accountability to the community. As mentioned previously, the public will be informed of major steps and progress on the scope with a minimum of quarterly public meetings. Now, I'd like to hand the mic off to Michelle Frederick to add a little bit more context. Michelle?
Thank you, Karen. Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Frederick, and I am the supervising engineer for the Division of Drinking Water Safer section. And before we end our portion of the presentation, I just wanted to make sure that you are all aware that the State Water Board has been developing a pool of eligible administrator candidates. And when we chose Tulare County and instead of another administrator, it was for several reasons. And first was that the consolidation process with Orosi PUD will require boundary changes, right-of-way agreements, engineering permits from various divisions within the county. And by already working closely with the county, we are hoping to be able to move through these processes more quickly. The second reason is because the county is a municipal agency, and therefore they can be a possible recipient for construction funding on behalf of East Orosi CSD if necessary. And finally, the State Water Board likes to coordinate with local representatives so that they can be long-term partners in finding community solutions. Fortunately, as an administrator instead of a receiver, the county will have funding to bring more support to the community. And with that, I will pass the mic back to Vanessa.
Okay, thank you, Brian, Caitlin, Karen, and Michelle for all of the valuable information about the challenges East Orosi faces and the potential solutions we have to look forward to. So that wraps up our presentations for tonight, and now we are eager to hear from you. So we will now stop the recording of this meeting.